Most people are not doing strength training in such a way to give them the actual results that they're looking for. When people do apply these principles, what they find is that strength training reverses aging on a genetic level. Strength training basically doubles the amount of available motor units that you have in your body, which in turn mitigates over 37 chronic illnesses. They build bone density. My mom has completely reversed her osteoporosis with no medication whatsoever. We've been doing this workout for almost 8 years now, and for 6 years of this, it was in a studio setting. Now, these types of exercises can be done at home, but I have to warn you, a lot of people don't get to the highest intensity possible when they're doing this on their own or when they're doing it in their home. So I put together a series of resources, videos that can help you as I guide you through increasing intensity little by little so that you can actually get the results. First, before I even get into the exercises, I'm going to show a video that explains why we do it in this way. These are the scientific principles that were introduced in the book Body by Science to the general public. The science of strength training really hasn't been widespread yet. It's crazy to think, but it's true. Down below, I have 3 free PDFs, regardless of how you want to work out, whether it's in the comfort of your own home or in a gym setting. These 3 free PDFs will teach you really everything that you need to know to start getting the most from exercise, but safely. See, there's a huge problem in the fitness industry, and especially when addressing seniors and elderly. You see on one very extreme side of the scale, people endorsing things like sit and be fit, which are not exercise, they're physiotherapy. They do nothing to change the body in a biological way, and they don't help us other than give a little range of motion. What we're talking about is changing the body in amazing ways, but safely for the joints. On the other side of that coin, you have these crazy people who are insisting that elderly people, in order to get results, they have to do CrossFit, which basically consists of jumping up and down off boxes, or even in such extreme circumstances, taking sledgehammers and beating tractor tires. And if you are thinking that's crazy, it is. I wouldn't want my 70-year-old parents doing that to try to exercise, and I'm sure you wouldn't want that either. And that's where there's a lot of misconceptions. People think that the word intensity means that they have to be jumping up and down and doing some sort of impactful thing that hurts their joints. That's not true at all. When we talk about intensity in exercise and safe exercise in the realm of biological science, what we're really talking about is creating more of a stimulus on the musculature of the body. This can be done in a very safe way. In fact, we can just stay in deep positions at home without even using machines that get us to this moment. The moment I'm talking about is momentary muscular failure. This is the clinical place where all of those muscle fibers have been recruited and there's really nothing else to do. And in that case, you get the best results in return. You wait about 3 or 4 days, sometimes 7 days, and you let your body heal and recuperate, and then you do it again. This is really a good picture of the at-home workout that I offer in my courses. It's only a few exercises where it's not going to, of course, touch every muscle group, but it comes very close. And you can, by doing these 3 exercises, of course, change your life in amazing and miraculous ways because it's intensity that matters. It's actually doing this in a way that provides that biological stimulus on the body. And we can all do this. Now, again, if you can't get up and down off the floor, there is a series of videos for you also. Leave that up above before we get started into the others. Feel free to, of course, watch all of this, and there's some really important principles in here. I talk about Dr. Henneman's size principle, and then we'll get into the workout after I cover the safety issues that we need to address. I hope that you live a longer life with the power of strength training. All within this video, I want to explain why intensity is important for all ages. But when it does come to seniors and elderly, there's a bigger problem because there's a lot of mythology in the fitness industry that seniors, elderly aren't able to exert enough physical effort to do real exercise. That's why you see all of these silly sit and be fit things. And yes, that is not exercise, that is physiotherapy. So, what is exercise? Nobody bravely wanted to try to define this until Ken Hutchins. And a lot of what you're going to be learning in this course, really, he paved the way for it in a lot of the books that he wrote, not just in the past, but most recently. These are going to be timed static contractions, very safe, but very meaningful. This is what your body needs. So what is exercise? Getting back to that, exercise has to be performed in a demanding nature. So it's a stimulus on your body that produces an adaptive response. Essentially, all of those positive health benefits, the delivery mechanism of the myokines flooding the bloodstream, giving you lower cholesterol, blood pressure, killing cancer cells, those types of things, all of that essentially is the adaptive response. Now, the stimulus, in order for that to be meaningful enough to give us those responses, it has to be intense. That's a word that most people don't like when we're talking about exercise. When I say intense, I don't mean jumping up and down or doing any ballistic movement. I mean exerting enough force to where we're contracting the muscles in a very meaningful way to give us those responses. And, in a nutshell, you basically just have to work really hard. The kicker is this is easy to do. Of course, that's what this course is about. And it doesn't matter whether you're using machines like, there is this book, Body by Science, and one of my courses is, of course, about machines, and I go over a lot of the ins and outs of exactly how to stay safe on those. Of course, for this course, I'm going to teach you how to stay safe for at-home exercises that don't need any equipment, but it's all the same improvement to the body. If the stimulus is intense enough, we can simply be pushing against an immovable object, and we'll get to all of that. But there's an important principle here called Dr. Henneman's size principle, and it basically just explains how much effort is important or how intensity is important, and that our results are going to differ significantly based upon how much effort we put in. It basically says this. Human size principle says that we recruit motor units in order from smallest to largest. And then each motor unit is responsible for something like 3 muscle fibers or thousands of muscle fibers. So let's say the first motor unit we recruit is responsible for 50 muscle fibers. It's just going to go up from there. The more intense it gets, the more muscle fibers are being recruited into contraction. And so our goal is to recruit as much muscle fibers so that we can get that full body myokine release and, of course, all the other health benefits listed in those other videos above. That's what we're looking for, is the adaptive response in return. And so the idea here is we're wanting to hold these positions, these static holds, or these time static contractions until we get to that deepest form of intensity that our muscles will allow. This is the clinical point of momentary muscular failure. All that means is we just can't move any further and we have to stop the exercise for the moment. It would probably only take about 2 or 3 minutes for us to feel like we could do the exercise again and that we can actually stand up and feel more even. So those are more safety precautions I'll be giving along the way. But for now, I just want you to understand that if you've been doing anything that has been very similar to sit and be fit, you're not getting the results that you want. So I'm here to help. The main takeaway is this. The amount of effort that we put into exercise is how we're going to get those adaptive responses, all of those health benefits we're looking for. And if we want to double our strength, which is very, very easy to do for older adults who have never been conditioned before, then we have to train intensely. The very last chapter of my favorite book, Body by Science, about strength training, and I'll shut up about this book after this, but it's called The Ideal Training Program for Seniors. The main takeaway from that chapter is also this: training intensely is the most important thing. Amazing stories from Dr. McGuff, people coming into his studio and being able to be mobile again. The same was true for all of the years that I was administering this similar workout, only on machines, for the past 7 years or so. This is going to take everything in a gym and condense it right to your dining room table and your living room, and I look forward to guiding you through every bit of the way. So we've talked about how to get results through intensity, and that matters the most. Now we're going to talk about how to stay safe when we're doing exercise. A big problem is that all of the people that you see working out in a gym using weights, whether it's dumbbells or whether it's machines, they're all moving with this very fast momentum, and what they're actually doing is they're ripping the connective tissue just right off of their body, and eventually it's not if, it's when they're going to injure themselves from moving that quickly. So simply, we're going to remove momentum from the entire picture. If we're going to move at all, it's going to be very slowly. And in our case, we're going to be moving with such a slow movement that it'll take about 5 to 10 seconds to even put ourselves into the position to where we're going to contract against something or against our own body weight. Now they're doing that with a weight in their hand, so it makes it a little bit more dangerous than just a simple ballistic movement, which would be doing something like jumping rope or jogging. You're creating an impact to your joints in such a way that's actually dangerous for your body long term. Now, none of us think about that moving on, but when we do get older and we start to feel my ankles, my knees and my hips a little bit from running my whole life when I was younger, it's very clear that I could have gotten around some of that. A lot of the programs in the 60s and the 70s had to do with how important cardio was. Now the crazy thing is that we actually get more cardiovascular benefit from doing strength training, resistance training, than we do from actual jogging. A lot of people don't know that. Again, it is in the book, Body by Science. I said I wasn't going to plug the book again, but there it is. These are the 4 pillars of safety when it comes to exercise. The very first one is you want to begin applying pressure gradually. You want it to take about 5 to 10 seconds to put yourself into the position to where you're pushing with ample force at that point, or you're in that perfect place to begin the exercise with a moderate amount of pressure. We always want to keep great form. We want the head to be facing forward, the neck to be completely neutral and gentle, and the shoulders are typically going to be down as much as possible. There are very few exercises where we actually want to shrug our shoulders. And this can be tough for beginners. This can be tough for some advanced clients as well, and that's okay. As long as you pay attention to it more and more and more, you'll learn to keep your shoulders down to stay in good form. We do have tendency to scrunch up our shoulders and hold our breaths when we begin to push something that's very heavy, whether it's our own body weight or whether it's an immovable object. Maybe we're pushing in a pullover against that table that we're going to learn. Anything of that nature, we want to keep our shoulders down through the entire thing. So keeping good form, you want to breathe deeply through the entire exercise. Now, a lot of people have all these different ideas about what they think the perfect breathing pattern is. You know, we never want to restrict any type of airflow when we're doing exercise. So just having your mouth open by a little bit is great. Just don't restrict your flow of oxygen, and always just breathe deep. That's the best recommendation. I typically, when it gets harder to push, I'll start to use shorter, more intense bursts. And that's just because I need more oxygen to be at that intense level. Last and final, we want to begin engaging our core as we put ourselves into these positions. So the stomach stays engaged. It helps us keep even good form through the entire exercise. And we're wanting to focus on the target muscles. Focusing on the muscles also gives us more intensity, which of course is the key to exercise. So in the next video, I'm going to introduce you to this protocol. It's exactly what you need to get started. We're almost there. For those of you who are comfortable getting up and down off of the ground, then this is really the starting point for you, because I want to make this as meaningful and productive as I possibly can. And generally, if we are able to start getting up and down off the ground from the very beginning, if we're comfortable with that, if we know that we can get back up once we get back down, that's an important distinction to make as well. So all these factors, thinking about this, if you are unable to get up and down, then the dining room table workout beginning is where you're going to want to start. You're going to feel way more comfortable stepping into this after that. As a review, and of course we're doing the squat here, But before we get started with anything else, I want to make clear the most important two factors. The four pillars of safety are slow movements. We're always going to take 5 to 10 seconds to put ourselves in these positions and begin contracting against whatever it is that we're contracting against. Second, our neck completely neutral, head facing forward, shoulders down, keeping good form through the entire exercise. We want to be breathing deep through everything, breathing freely, mouth open just by a little bit as well. Nothing restricting our nose or our mouths through this. And lastly, the fourth pillar is engaging our core and focusing deeply on the muscles we're using. We're going to be using 3 levels of intensity over the course of 90 seconds, getting closer and closer and closer. Our target in the end is to reach the moment of momentary muscular failure, the point where the muscles cannot contract any longer. Then, of course, we'll want to take 2 to 3 days off or 5 to 7 days off. It depends on how intensely you are able to train. To be perfectly clear, that's usually the distinction that matters the most with how often people do need to train. Remember that intensity is effort, and effort is the most important thing for getting the health benefits and the muscle growth that we're looking for. It has to burn like crazy in the muscles, no pinching, no straining, no sharp feelings whatsoever. If you have anything like that, discontinue the exercise, and then you can do some alternate exercises. So getting to the squat, I know that's a whole lot of review. We're working primarily our glute muscles. The lower back comes into play, the quads and the hamstrings. Now, most people really only feel the quads, the muscles above the knees. They burn like crazy because there's a ton of nerve endings there. That's absolutely normal. What I want to tell people the most is that when we're pressing into the heels and we're fixed in this deep time contraction that we're doing here, we want to squeeze the glutes as deeply as we can and focus in those muscle groups through the entire process. Of course, all the other factors come into it, engaging the core, all of the important things. I'll give you those cues as we move forward as well. I like describing the squat like barely standing up, because the further down you are, the more the muscles are going to contract. And so the maximum contraction point is when you're really, really low to the ground. And so, essentially, we really want to be in that position. But if your knees tend to hurt a little, like my dad's have, for running most of our lives, it's wear and tear on the knees, things of that nature. And there's some other exercises that you can do as well that will help you get the glutes to a deeper place of momentary muscular failure. You don't have to completely rely on this one. So my advice to everybody is never lower into a position where you feel a pinching in any joint. We always want to steer clear of any pinching sensations, so only go down as far as you can comfortably do, okay? And so the very beginning, of course, I'll just guide you through this. You're above a couch or you're above a chair right here, and very, very slowly over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, you're going to lower yourself into that position where you're feeling the muscles exerting a moderate amount of effort. A lot of people in the high intensity community do tend to call this 50% of your maximum capacity. That's very, very common thing to say. Now, I like to leave this all in your court. So very slowly, that same 5 to 10 seconds, increase that intensity by lowering yourself just a little bit deeper into that squat. Here, allowing yourself to contract the glutes and squeeze them together while you're breathing freely. Your core is engaged, you're feeling the muscles, and I know it burns. You're going to continue to push through it. Again, no pinching, only the intensity in the muscles, purposefully squeezing the glutes as you freely breathe through your mouth and nose, and very slowly, over that course of 5 to 10 seconds, lowering yourself to the deepest level you can possibly be in, comfortably and safely. Again, as much intensity as possible is what we're after. Really working the muscles to a deep contraction, squeezing the glutes, engage through the core, breathing freely. Fixed and stable, the deepest intensity that you can, as hard as you dare. very gently, slowly, over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, you can lower yourself down and rest and relax. There are some alternatives to this exercise. If you're not able to go down far enough to really feel the glutes engage enough, you could do the glute bridge on the ground. You could do the one-legged glute bridge, which is very intense, and you'll get to momentary muscular failure in those glutes for sure with that one, or the Superman. So all of these are choices that do use the glutes as well, which again, it's the largest muscle group in the body, so you definitely want to work these muscles in some way. Those options are available for you. I am emphasizing to call this the chest push. There's a very important reason. We don't want to do a push-up. A lot of times when people say do a push-up, they'll do this, they'll push against the ground, and they're working their neck muscles in a very, very, very bad way. So we're going to have our neck completely neutral, most of us, and that's the largest percentage of the human population is not able to actually do a push-up in good form. But what we can do is we can push against the ground as an immovable object in a way that fully fatigues the chest muscles. That's the only goal of all of this. And so we're going to use those same 3 levels of increasing intensity, but we're going to begin in a completely neutral position, laying on the ground completely. Our goal is not going to be to pick ourselves up. Our goal is going to be to press against the ground in the beginning with just a moderate amount of effort to where we can feel the chest working. Now you may be tempted to do this. Never do this. Keep the shoulders down all the way. Now a lot of people, if you can't bend your hands back all the way like this, then you can just create kind of a handle. This would be if you were holding the handles vertically of a grip of a machine to push it, just like a chest press, like this, pushing against it. That's what we're doing when we lay face forward on the ground and push gently. What this does is it allows for our wrist to be completely straight. So that way if you have any wrist problems and you can't bring your wrists all the way back like this, you can still do the chest push on the ground. You just put yourself on your knuckles. That's the way that I'm going to demonstrate doing this. Pushing through the ground like that with the wrists straight. Now you can do it just like this. The demonstration with my dad's workout, he usually has his hands like this. Sometimes he differs a little bit and mixes it up and moves between the two with a place that's very close to each of them. That's fine as well, just as long as you're reaching the deepest amount of momentary muscle failure with yourself in good form. So beginning this steadily in this position very slowly over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, increasing that pressure until you're pushing against the ground with a moderate amount of effort. You're staying in good form, your shoulders are down, you're engaged in the core. Again, your stomach is probably connected to the ground. You're not pushing yourself up off the ground. All you're doing is you're pushing in the direction that works the chest muscles. Keeping the shoulders down over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, increasing that intensity, pushing a little bit deeper until you're pushing almost as hard as you dare. People can use the word 75% of your capacity. That's absolutely fine. Breathing deep, shoulders low, in good form. The core can engage. We're feeling the place in the chest. This is very close to the armpit area, right below the armpits. And here, again, not needing to pick ourselves up at all, but we want to push over the course of 5 to 10 seconds as hard as we dare, using the floor as a way to use our arms to interact, to create a stimulus in our chest. We want to feel that place in the chest muscles burning while the shoulders stay down. We're squeezing inward a little to really get in deeper to the chest. We're feeling the triceps, we're breathing deep, we're keeping the core engaged very gently and slowly over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, resting here and relaxing. The Superman is a great exercise. It's a more advanced option. And I've had clients that have been working with this method for a long time, I would say 4 whole years. And I would say after about a year, You can hold this exercise for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, and that's probably about as far as anyone I know could do that is just a normal person genetically. So it is a more advanced exercise because it's more difficult. I will give a couple warnings. If you have any lower back problems, you'll want to be gentle when beginning this, very gentle. And if you feel any pinching in anything, no matter what it is, whether it's your lower back or anything else, you just want to stop the exercise. There's other options for you. This is not necessary to do the Superman. If you feel some pinching, please stop and don't push through the exercise. So the Superman, basically going to be laying on your stomach, and there's a couple of ways that you can do this, and I'll show you at the very beginning. They're going to begin two things at the same time. You're going to be balancing on your stomach right here, and you can have your hands out just like this in a Superman flying position, or you can bring them back almost to feel like a lat pull down. It would be like contracting and squeezing the shoulder blades together in order to feel the lats a little bit deeper. Purposeful engagement of those muscles with that movement. And so either way is great. Over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, beginning to put yourself in that position by raising your knees gently, picking your hands and your elbows up off of the ground to allow your back muscles, the lower back, the glutes, the hamstrings to begin contracting with a moderate amount of effort. Now again, for some of you this may be more intense than that. It is okay. Never a pinching, only a deep muscle engagement in the muscles we're feeling over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, increasing that intensity, putting yourself into a deeper position, whether leverage-wise or squeezing the shoulder blades together deeper. Our shoulders are down, we're breathing freely, our core is engaged, we're squeezing the glutes. This is a multi-focus exercise. Combination of the glutes and the lats, feeling these two muscles deeply. Again, over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, contracting even deeper, fixing yourself in a deeper position to where you are contracting as hard as you dare into the muscles. The lats squeezing the shoulder blades together, glutes squeezing, breathing deep through this, fixed and stable. As much as you can contract, as deeply as you can feel the muscles working, fixed and stable, breathing deeply through it.
That's the one.
And over the course of 5 to 10 seconds, very gently and slowly, rest and relax.